Okay. So today's chapter is a very important chapter. You can see the number of pages. It is almost 89 pages. Okay. And I think first chapter that we did, that is directors, that was around 60 pages. Okay. So first chapter we completed directors. Then after that we are jumping to the third chapter because that is the sequence. Because last time we did up to 172 section 172. Now meeting starts from 173. So that is the actual sequence. The module they have given chapter 2 as key managerial personnel and appointment and remuneration and all that of directors and KMP. But that is the, I think that starts from almost 196 or something. That section starts from 196. So that chapter has to be studied after the third chapter logically. So first we'll be studying directors, then meetings, and then appointment and remuneration of KMP and directors. So the first three chapters, okay, the first three chapters, the weightage will almost be 30 marks. Okay, almost 30 marks weightage will be coming from the first three chapters. So as we discussed that company law part is almost 60 marks. Company law part is 60 marks. So out of that, 30 marks is the first three chapters. So these chapters have to be done thoroughly. Every section has to be done perfectly. So you should be knowing each and every section, each and every provision in this. Okay. So very interesting chapter as well. Meetings of the board and its powers. So it starts with section 173. The first section is about meeting of the board. From the name of the chapter only we can understand. It is about meeting of the board. Now, this section talks about what is the frequency of the board meetings, what should be the frequency, that is how many board meetings should be conducted, and exemptions are given for some companies. Then how the directors can participate in the meeting, what is the mode, and also notice of the board. When should the notice be sent? And last is penalty if notice is not given. Okay, so this is the section. Then section 174 talks about quorum for the meetings and how many members should be present for a valid meeting. Okay, so firstly we'll understand what is the frequency. How many board meetings are to be conducted? So section 173 subsection 1 talks about the frequency of board meetings. Now, what Act says is that after incorporation, that is in the first year of the company, a board meeting shall be held within 30 days. Within the first 30 days, a board meeting shall be held. And in every calendar year, there should be minimum 4 board meetings. So in the first year, you have to hold 1 meeting within 30 days and 3 more meetings because 1 meeting you already held. So there should be at least 4 meetings in the calendar year. You can have more as well. Okay, but Companies Act says minimum 4, and the maximum gap between 2 board meetings shall not exceed 4 months or 120 days. It should not be more than 120 days. So it should not be like 1 meeting you had in January and a second meeting you are having in July. That is not happening. Okay, because Companies Act wants to improve the corporate governance practices also. So that is one of the agendas of Companies Act. So if the board doesn't meet, then how are they going to take decisions and run the company? Correct. So that is why they have said the minimum 4 meetings have to be there. So basically, it's like in every quarter, one meeting. But here we are talking about a calendar year, Jan to December. So what does section 173 subsection 1 say? First board meeting after incorporation should be within the first 30 days, that is first month. And in a year, there should be at least 4 meetings. Not more than 120 days should be there between two board meetings. You can have more also. So example is given that in case a company is conducted its board meeting on 2nd April 2019, so we are talking about a calendar year, then the next meeting shall be held within 120 days. That is ideally 31st July. That is before 31st July. And by 31st December, the company must conduct minimum 4 such meetings. So first meeting, if conducted on 2nd April, second should be on 31st July, and so on. Including the meeting which have already been conducted. So basically, they have to see to it. So here they are just giving 2nd April committee. So 2nd April, if the meeting is there, next meeting should be by 31st July. And basically by year end, they should have at least 4 meetings. And the gap between each of the meetings should not be more than 120 days. That's the rule. Now, obviously, certain companies which are small, especially the private ones, are exempted. So firstly, OPC, one person company, small company. One person company is a company having only one person as a member. Small company is basically company whose paid up capital doesn't exceed 50 lakhs, whose turnover is not more than 2 crores. Dormant company, inactive company basically. So these companies are giving exemption that they need not have to conduct 4 board meetings in a year, but in each half of the calendar year, that is Jan to June, July to December, that is in each half, they should have at least one board meeting. So in each half, that is Jan to June, July to December, one board meeting each. And the gap between these two meetings should be at least 90 days. So it should not happen that one board meeting you had in June and second board meeting in July. No, there should be at least 3 months gap in between, 90 days. So you can have one meeting in February, second meeting you can have in July. So at least 3 months should be there. Okay. So for OPC, small company, dormant company, this is the provision. Section 8 company also, they have said that minimum 2 board meetings have to be there in each half of the calendar year. But in section 8, they have not mentioned a 90 days point. Okay. 90 days wala point is not there, but they have just said that each half, one board meeting is needed. Now, OPC, there is the directors, number of directors in an OPC is that they should have minimum one director and maximum they can have up to 15 directors, like all companies. So if a OPC has a board, then only they will have to meet. If OPC has only one director, then meeting is not necessary because he cannot do meeting with himself. Okay, so whatever decision he wants to take, he will just enter in the minutes book and sign it. Participation by directors in board meeting. Nowadays, even video conferencing is allowed, something like what we are doing right now to Zoom and other things. But generally, board meetings, Zoom is not preferred because they still think that Zoom might, uh, what they say, lead to evasion of privacy or something like that. But actually, if you see logically, uh, people are saying that, well, initially when Zoom came, people are saying that Zoom is not safe and all that. But actually, if you see worldwide, especially in America, evasion of privacy and tampering private data and all these cases are going against Facebook, Google, which are the most widely used sites and I would say apps and all. Plus WhatsApp is of Facebook, Instagram is of Facebook, Google phones we use, Android. So basically, anyways, we are not using anything that is safe. And uh, Zoom is safe. There is not a problem. Initially, when they launched it, it was not encrypted. Now it is all encrypted. They updated immediately. So that is the thing. So nowadays, but still some board meetings, I have heard that we don't use Zoom. So directors just refuse. If Zoom is going to be used, we are not attending, something like that. So they prefer some other video conferencing software like Skype or Google Meet because they think that that is safer. But actually, if you see in US, a lot of cases are going on against Google and Facebook for the same thing, and there is no uh, case as such going on against Zoom. But a lot of cases are going on against Facebook and Google. Even in India now, they had some links. The Facebook had some links with some hate speech of BJP leaders. They promoted that and all that. So they are always involved, and Facebook and Google are always involved in election campaigns. So they are nowadays helping the uh, political parties to win elections by manipulating the news they are allowing to be shared. Even in the Trump campaign, Facebook played a huge role. Facebook and Google. Okay, so nowadays physically though definitely you could attend in initial days also. Now video conferencing also is allowed. So directors can participate through video conferencing using the software which the company uses. Now company like Reliance, they have their own software, GeoMeet. Even their latest AGM was conducted through GeoMeet. Some companies can have their own software or any other audio video means. That is basically a video conferencing what we are talking about. So directors can meet in person or they can meet through video conferencing apps or any other prescribed audio visual means. Prescribe as in any other uh, softwares and other things which can be prescribed by the government. So what is video or audio conferencing or audio visual means? Video conferencing or other audio visual means it refers to audio visual electronic communication. Now this part earlier students didn't understand exactly what they are talking about. But now as we are doing audio video conferencing only, so anyone can understand now. Because that days in the earlier days, these things were not there. Only Skype was there, but nobody used it that much, frankly speaking. It refers to audio-visual electronic communication facility employed which enables all the persons participating in a meeting to communicate concurrently with each other without an intermediary or participate effectively in the meeting. So there is no intermediary. The software is the intermediary. So there is no person in between. So you can easily contact with each other. You can speak. You can see each other also. Now there are some essentials required. Recording and recognizing the participation of directors. So they will record who all are participating. They will make a record of people who are the directors who are participating, and they recognize this guy attended. And recording and storing the proceedings of the meeting along with the date and time. So they will store it also. Record and store it. And generally, when you store a file on PC, the date and time is already there. But some things you cannot nowadays. This obviously this is a 2013 act. They might amend it later also. That because this year mostly they must have not followed this because of the pandemic. They are saying that four or five things you cannot do through video conferencing. So, for example, all the directors are attending the meeting through video conferencing. So they say ki these things cannot be done through video conferencing. That is approval of annual financial statements, then approval of board's report, approval of prospectus if you are issuing securities, then audit committee meetings for consideration of financial statements, including the consolidated ones to be approved by the board later. approval for amalgamation, demerger, merger. So these 4-5 things we cannot do through video conferencing. But there is one exception, that if some directors, that is almost the quorum, the minimum number of directors are actually present at a place, they are meeting physically, and some directors are participating from video conferencing, then that is fine. So minimum quorum, if it is present physically, then others can participate through video conferencing. That is fine. That is one exception to this. But all cannot participate video conferencing and do these things. Okay. But maybe this year they might allow that. Because this year the AGMs were also conducted in this way. Now this is the point I said, the provided part. It is provided that where there is a quorum in a meeting through physical presence of directors. So directors are physically present. Any other director may participate through video conferencing or other audio visual means in such meeting on those matters also which are not permitted to deal with in a meeting through video conferencing or other audio visual means. So if your minimum directors are present, now quorum for a board meeting, which is the next section, is basically 1/3 of the total number of directors, or 2, whichever is higher. 1/3 or 2, whichever is higher. So if those numbers are present physically, the others can participate through video conferencing means. That is fine. And you can still discuss these matters. But if all are participating in video conferencing and quorum is not there physically, then no. Now these procedural points are not necessary. Then section 173 subsection 3 talks about notice. Very important part. Notice of the meeting. Now, for any kind of meeting to be called, a notice has to be sent. Okay. That is a secretarial practice. That is a good secretarial practice, that you need to send a notice. How should the people know about the meeting? So for the board meeting, minimum 1 week's notice has to be there. That is a minimum 7 days notice has to be there to all the directors at their registered addresses. Now, the notice can be by hand delivery or by post or by electronic mode. Nowadays, they send by email. That is the best way nowadays. Shorter notice can also be sent to transact urgent business. So they can send like a 2-day notice also. But it has to be urgent business. For that, they are sending. Secondly, whatever decisions are taken at the meeting shall be approved by at least one independent director. So if they are meeting physically, then at least one independent director should be there at a meeting to make the resolution valid. If the independent director is not there, then whatever decision is taken at a meeting, circulate that to all the remaining directors of the company, and it will become valid only if one independent director approves it. Obviously, if the company has an independent director, if it's a private company, then it's not needed. So minimum notice is 7 days, but for urgent business, you can send a shorter notice. And to conduct that meeting or to conduct that resolution in that meeting, at least one independent director has to be present. If he is not there, circulate the decision, whatever is taken in that meeting, and it will be final only after one independent director approves it. Also, when you are sending the notice, you should give details of the option to participate in the meeting by video conference. So if the directors wish to join through video conferencing, they should be given that option. So in the notice, they will be written that there is an option that you can attend the meeting through video conferencing. If yes, please intimate us earlier so we can make the arrangements. So a director who is intending to do that through video conferencing should intimate the chairperson or the company secretary of the company that yes, I am going to choose this option. If he doesn't intimate, then they will assume that he will be attending physically. Penalty is there that if notice is not sent, then 25,000 will be charged to every officer who is in default. So here is a question that the board of directors of Infotech Consultants Limited, registered in Calcutta, proposes to hold the next board meeting in the month of May 2019. They seek your advice in respect to the following matters. Can the board meeting be held in Chennai through video conferencing when all the directors of the company reside at Calcutta? Is it necessary that the notice of the board meeting should specify the nature of business to be transacted? That is basically the agenda. Should they attach the agenda also? Now, on a board meeting, there are very few provisions given for the board meeting. Only about frequency they are talking, about the participation mode, and about the notice. Now, the Companies Act doesn't say that board meeting should be conducted at a certain place or not. So you can hold a board meeting outside India also, and plus you can hold a board meeting anywhere in India. There is no place fixed. Plus you can hold it on any day, at any time. It need not be business hours also. Nothing is given only. So basically nothing is given, then you can hold it anytime. So Chennai is possible. And anyways, they are doing it through video conferencing. So there is the place is not necessary only because you are doing it through the internet. So you can hold board meeting anywhere, wherever might the place of the directors be, or wherever might the office of the company be. You can have the board meeting anywhere. Plus, the Companies Act doesn't say anything about agenda to be attached with the notice. Agenda is basically the list of items to be discussed at the meeting. So that is not given. But as a good secretarial practice, and it is an important meeting as a board are meeting. So if the company attaches an agenda, it will be better. So directors know what is going to be discussed at the meeting. So it will be better. So normally companies attach agenda, a list of items to be discussed. I think we had discussed that about there was a chapter called secretarial practice, the last chapter of Companies Act. That there we had seen the agenda of a company. Then they are saying XYZ is a foreign collaborator in ABC Limited, incorporated in India under the Companies Act 13. So basically, ABC Limited is a company we're talking about, which is an Indian company, and XYZ Limited is a foreign partner in that company. So they must have invested around 49%. They are saying 49% shares in the company, and 51% is held by Indian partners. Now they are saying that board meetings are held in India, definitely it's an Indian company, and sometimes the meetings are also called at short notice. Board meetings are allowed to be called at short notice, for which there is a provision in the articles. They are saying that during such situations, notice shall be sent by email. Perfectly fine. Said in this connection whether such provision is in the articles valid. Yes, it is valid. They are Foreign Companies Act. Now, foreign collaborator hai nahi hai, that's not an issue. So the foreign collaborator can appoint their directors on the board. So there will be some directors who will be representing that collaborator. They can attend. And nowadays even video conferencing is available. So they need not be in India also. Perfectly fine. So just because the foreign collaborator is there, that doesn't mean that board meetings cannot be called at short notice or board meetings cannot be held in India. Of course they can. It's an Indian company. Secondly, many companies you see, all the companies nowadays are having a foreign partner. So take Birla Sun Life or ICICI Prudential Life Insurance Corporation. Then even HDFC Life, that HDFC Life Insurance, that also has a foreign partner. Then Max Bupa Life Insurance, they have Bupa as a partner. Then Air Vistara, Air Asia, Tata, and some other partner is there, foreign partner. Then Tata Global Beverages, which holds Starbucks in India. So it's a partnership between Tata Group and Tata Global Beverages and Starbucks. So many companies are there. So obviously their board meetings are still in India and they can be called at short notice. We are following the act. Nothing wrong in that.
That
Yeah.
exceptions that there ना 4-5 exceptions
Yeah.
म्हणजे आता आताच्या सिच्युएशन मध्ये नाही होते ते पण ते जे आता असं तर असेल फॉरेन कोलॅबरेटर इंडियन कॉर्पोरेशन
नाही पण फॉरेन कोलॅबोरेटर इज जस्ट टू ते तर असतंच ना म्हणजे असं काही नाही पण फॉरेन कोलॅबोरेटर इज इन्व्हेस्टेड 49% इन एबीसी पण बोर्ड मीटिंग अटेंड करायला त्यांचे डिरेक्टर्स असतील ना तर ते अटेंड करतील आणि फिजिकली पण अटेंड करू शकतात असं काही नाहीये दे कॅन ऑलवेज ट्रॅव्हल टू इंडिया और दे कॅन बी इंडियन्स ओनली असं काही नाही की फॉरेन कोलॅबोरेटर म्हणजे काय फॉरेनरलाच अपॉइंट केलंय मोस्टली दे विल अपॉइंट समवन इन इंडिया ओनली
सो दॅट इज म्हणजे ते एक्सेप्शन इथे पण लागू होतात
कुठचे एक्सेप्शन
ते 4-5 जे होते ना
हा ते ऑब्व्हियसली आहे ते आहेच ते म्हणजे ते कारण ते कसं आहे की अप्रुव्हल ऑफ फायनान्शियल स्टेटमेंट अप्रुव्हल ऑफ मर्जर
बोर्ड रिपोर्ट्स
हा सो हे सगळं तर ऑब्व्हियसली त्यांनी म्हटलंय सिरियस मॅटर्स आहेत तर तुम्ही फिजिकली भेटूनच करा सो ऑब्व्हियसली ते तर आहेच फक्त इकडे या क्वेश्चन मध्ये काय म्हटलंय की शॉर्टर नोटीस कॉल करू शकतात का सो येस डेफिनेटली काय प्रॉब्लेम नाही बाकी सगळे रूल्स तसेच ऍप्लिकेबल आहेत सो नथिंग रॉंग इन दॅट त्याच्यानंतर एक कोरम ऑफ द बोर्ड मीटिंग कोरम मी तुला आधीच बोललो की 1/3 ऑफ द टोटल स्ट्रेंथ और 2 विच एवर इज हायर 1/3 म्हणजे काय की सपोज आता द कंपनी हॅज लाईक टोटल आर 12 डिरेक्टर्स तो कंपनी टोटल डिरेक्टर्स आर 12 so 12 चं 1/3 that is 4 or 2 whichever is higher so 4 आता काही प्लेसेस जो वेकंट असतील म्हणजे सम डिरेक्टर्स आर नॉट देअर सो बेसिकली out of 12 3 positions are vacant right now so there are 9 directors now so 1/3 of 9 or 2 whichever is higher so ignore the vacant positions and set the quorum and at the same time quorum has to be there throughout the meeting it should not be like the at the start of the meeting quorum is there and afterwards the quorum is not there they leave after 5-10 minutes they leave only at the beginning they are there no they have to be there throughout secondly for section 8 company it is generally section 8 company has a governing body so they call it the members of the governing body so for a section 8 company they say ki quorum should be 8 members or 25% of total members whichever is less provided minimum 2 members so 8 or 25% of total members but they should not be falling below 2 so basically 25% of total members if it comes to 1 and all then minimum 2 is there that is for the section 8 company so 8 members or 25% of total number of members whichever is less but not less than 2 because for a meeting at least 2 should be there normally if normal items are to be discussed people participating through video conferencing are also counted in the quorum so normally if normal items are to be discussed that is not those 4-5 items people who are participating through video conferencing should be counted in the quorum unless they are to be excluded for any item of business under the provisions of act or rules unless they are to be excluded as in sometimes they are interested directors so they are not counted in the quorum now they are saying that if there is a vacancy if there is a vacancy don't count the vacancy for example I discussed that there are 12 directors total the strength was 12 but now only 9 are there so 3 positions are vacant so 1/3 of 9 or 2 but sometimes it might happen that vacancies in the board are so much that you don't have even 2 directors minimum is 1/3 or 2 so quorum is not even happening that 2 directors are also not there so in that case the remaining director can only do 2 things he can either call general meeting and tell them to appoint more directors or he can appoint additional directors so that this quorum will be there they are saying that in case there is a vacancy in the board that is strength is less than mentioned in the articles the continuing directors may act irrespective of such vacancy. However, the problem will arise when, due to such vacancies, the number of directors is reduced below the quorum fixed by the Companies Act. Below the quorum is below 2. If this is the situation, the continuing director may act for the following purposes only and nothing else: to increase the number of directors to that fixed for the quorum, that is appoint additional director, or to summon general meeting. Nothing else he can do, because minimum directors are also not there. They cannot pass any resolution. Maximum they can do is they can call a general meeting so that they will appoint more directors, or he can appoint additional directors. Now, there is something called as interested directors. Interested as in, suppose a resolution is to be passed at a meeting where a company might be entering into a contract with some other party, maybe with another company or another firm. And in that firm or company, the directors are interested. Some of the directors are interested. So they are shareholding there, or they are members there, or whatever. Or they are directors, CEO there, whatever. Or their related party is there. So they are saying that the logic is interested partners, interested directors should not be participating in the meeting, because that is against the principles of corporate governance. Basically, it will be like conflict of interest. So they are saying that normally interested directors should not participate. The rule is interested directors should not participate in the meeting, and plus they should disclose that they are interested, and then they should not participate. The remaining directors will vote on the resolution subject to quorum being there. Now they are saying that suppose two-third or more, suppose there is a situation that two-third or more of the total strength of the directors are interested. So two-third or more of the total strength of directors are interested. So for example, I told you there are 12 directors. So out of that, almost two-third are interested directors. That is, two-third is 8 directors are interested. So in that case, the remaining directors, that is remaining is 4 out of 12, 8 are interested. So remaining 4 or 2, whichever is higher, shall be the quorum. Suppose all 10 are interested. Out of 12, 10 are interested. Then remaining 2 will be the quorum. So minimum 2 has to be there. But the interested directors cannot participate. Now, if out of 12, 11 are interested, now the resolution cannot be passed. Quorum is not there. Now, what they can do is they can appoint additional directors, or they can summon general meeting to appoint additional directors, to appoint more directors. Or they will tell the general meeting that you pass the resolution. So, where at any time the number of interested directors exceeds or is equal to two-thirds of the total strength of the board of directors, so it's an extreme situation. The quorum shall be number of non-interested directors who are present at the meeting. So as I told you, 8 are interested, 4 can be the quorum, but their number must not be less than 2. So subject to minimum 2. By calculating the quorum, any fraction shall be rounded off as 1. So in earlier case also 1/3, or in this case here also, any fraction is rounded off 1. So basically, if there are 10 directors and out of that we have to calculate 1/3 or 2, whichever is higher. So 1/3 of 10 comes to 3 something, 3.33. So round off it to 4. So 1/3 of 10 comes to 3.333. So round it off to 4. 4 or 2, whichever is higher. So 4, like that. Interested directors, basically they have explained. This will be studying under section 184 separately. That director is directly, indirectly interested in any contract or arrangement which is to be entered by the company with another body corporate, where the director with another director in the company is holding more than 2% of that company, or is a promoter, manager, CEO of that company. Or the company is entering into a contract with a firm or any other entity in which the director is a partner, owner, or a member, as the case may be. So definitely is interested. So in that case, he will become interested director, so he cannot participate in the meeting. Now for private companies, it is little different. Private companies, he can disclose that he is interested because that is there. As per section 184, you have to disclose that I am an interested director. Every person has to disclose that I am interested in this resolution. So others should know. But in normal public companies, they have to disclose, but they cannot participate. In private companies, they will disclose, but they can participate because it is a private company. Now, if quorum is not there in a board meeting, then the meeting will be adjourned to the next week, same day, same time, same place. But if that day is a national holiday, that is like a 15th August or 26th Jan, next day. So that is the normal adjournment rule. That same time, same day, same place, next week. But if it's a national holiday, next day. OPC having one director, they don't need to have a quorum because they are just having one director. So that is not applicable. But if they are having a proper board, then obviously quorum will be required. So here is the example given that there are 9 directors in a company, and out of which two offices of directors have fallen vacant. So 9 is there total strength. Out of that, 2 are not there right now. So they are vacant. So total you have to take 7. So 7 into 1/3 or 2, whichever is higher. So 7, so 1/3 comes to 2.33. So round off to the nearest 1. So that is 3. So 3 or 2, whichever is higher. So 3. There are total 15 directors in a company, and during discussion on a particular item, 13 directors happen to be interested. So definitely more than 2/3 are interested. So the remaining, subject to minimum 2, will be the quorum. So here the remaining 2 are there, so they will be the quorum. Now here is an example that a meeting of the board of No Holiday Limited was held on holiday on account of Ganesh Chaturthi. However, due to lack of quorum, the proceedings of the meeting could not be held, and therefore chairman of the meeting, with the consent of majority, decided that the board meeting be adjourned to next week on the same day. However, the date fixed for the adjournment happened to be a Sunday. Whether the adjourned meeting of the board can be held on a Sunday, they have said that meeting can be adjourned to the next week, next day, next week, same day, same time, same place. And if it's a national holiday, then next day. Now, Sunday is not a national holiday. Sunday is a public holiday. In fact, there are some companies who don't give holiday on a Sunday. So, Sunday is a public holiday. National holidays is basically holiday declared by the central government, like 15th August, 26th July, 26th January, like that. Okay, so they can hold meeting on a Sunday. So there is nothing wrong. Yes, any doubts in these two sections?
No, sir. No.
Okay. Then passing of resolution by circulation, that is section 175. Now, some items uh, for resolution, some resolutions, that is, some resolutions have to be passed at a board meeting only. So the directors have to physically meet, or through video conferencing, they have to actually meet and pass the resolution at the board meeting. But some resolutions can be passed by circulation. Circulation is that instead of meeting, they circulate a rough draft of the resolution. They just circulate a rough draft of the resolution to all the directors in India at the registered offices, all by email. And if the majority of the directors approve it, the resolution is deemed to be passed. So generally, directors can adopt this thing because it is easier, because they don't have to come and meet at the board meeting. But obviously that rule is there, that section 173 is there. 4 times you have to meet and all is there. But other resolutions you can pass by circulation, subject to the Companies Act, what the Companies Act says, because some resolutions cannot be passed by circulation. They have to be passed at a board meeting only. But for the remaining resolutions, you can just circulate a draft resolution to all the directors in India. And if majority approves, then the resolution is deemed to be passed. So in the next board meeting, whenever it happens, they will add to the minutes of that board meeting this resolution that is passed by circulation. So it will become part of the minutes of the next board meeting. So it has to be recorded somewhere. So it will be part of the minutes of the next board meeting. So procedure is what? A draft resolution will be circulated to all the directors in India. If majority of them approve, resolution is deemed to be passed. But if a draft resolution is circulated and 1/3 of the directors say that no, we want to physically meet, we want to meet at the board meeting, so conduct a board meeting and only then we'll pass the resolution. And if 1/3 are against it, against the passing of resolution by circulation, then the chairman will have to call a board meeting. So this resolution by circulation will be cancelled. If 1/3 object, then they will have to call a board meeting. So requirements to pass resolution by circulation, section 175, subsection 1. Or resolution, even committee meetings. Committee is like board or board's committee. Committees are like audit committee, nomination remuneration committee. They can also pass resolutions by circulation. The resolution has to be circulated in draft together with necessary papers, if any, to all directors or members of committee as the case may be, at the registered addresses with the company in India only, by hand delivery, post or courier, or through electronic means, and has been approved by majority of directors or members, that is members of the committee, who are entitled to vote on the resolution. When resolution cannot be passed, if at least 1/3 of total number of directors for the time being require that any resolution under circulation must be decided at the meeting, the chairperson shall put the resolution to be decided at a meeting of the board instead of decided by circulation. So he has to call a board meeting because 1/3 are objecting. Noting of past resolution next meeting. A resolution has been passed by circulation shall have to be necessarily noted in the next meeting of the board or committee thereof, as the case may be, and made part of the minutes of such meeting. The next board meeting's meeting, minutes, this resolution has to be added. In respect of certain matter which did not require to be decided at board meeting, so there are some matters which need not be decided at board meeting, you can pass by circulation also. PQR Limited thought it prudent to pass resolution thereof by circulation. They thought, let's pass the resolution by circulation because we don't have so much time in hand. So let's pass it fast. Accordingly, a draft resolution was circulated among all the 6 directors by email. 3 directors did not give their consent and desired that a resolution was required to be decided meeting. So 3 directors objected. So 3 out of 6 means almost half. That's more than 1/3. So the chairman has to cancel this resolution and he has to put that to vote at the board meeting. Understood? 3 sections understood? Okay. Now 173, 174, 175 we did. Then now I'm jumping to 176 because as you know, I follow a sequence. Then we'll come back to the audit committee section, that is 177. So they have mentioned the section 176 below the section 177 and I think 178. So let's see. Just a minute. You've given it somewhere. I'm searching for section 176. Because after this thing, 175, I have directly started with 177. Just a minute, I'll just check. It is somewhere here, somewhere down it is. One 189, 90. क्या खाली नहीं है, छोटासा सेक्शन आहे पण ते सिक्वेन्सनेच आपण गेलं पाहिजे. 189, 188, हरवलोय आपण कंपनीज ऍक्ट मध्ये. आहे इकडेच कुठेतरी आहे. I think this is the one. Yeah, this is the one. 42 page. It is after 184. Okay. So 176 is basically defects in appointment of directors, not to invalidate actions. So this section says that suppose a director is appointed validly. So he's appointed and he performs his functions, and neither he knows, neither the company knows that there was some defect in his appointment. For example, he was appointed by a combined resolution. That is not right. Or he is disqualified. So section 164 is applicable to him, but he doesn't know, or neither the company knows that this director is already disqualified, so he has to vacate. Or under any other provisions of the act, or by articles, the provisions in the articles, he is supposed to be disqualified from continuing in office. So maybe his term is over or something like that. He doesn't know, and the company knows. So in that case, they are saying whatever acts are conducted, whatever decisions he was part of, whatever act, whatever actions he has taken will be valid. But once the director finds out that he is disqualified, or once the company finds out that he is disqualified, then whatever action he takes will be invalid. So till the time the director finds out or the company finds out that he is disqualified, we continuing in office, whatever action he has taken will be valid. So they are saying no act done by a person as director shall be deemed to be invalid if it was subsequently noticed that his appointment was invalid by reason of any defect in the appointment or any disqualification, or has been terminated by virtue of any provisions contained in the act or in the articles of the company. So he continued in office. He didn't know that he was disqualified or there was a defect in his appointment, or even the company did not know that he was disqualified. Neither of the parties knew. So whatever decisions he has taken in the meanwhile, whatever actions or whatever resolutions he was part of will be valid. So that won't become invalid just because this is the case. But once any of the parties finds out that yes, I am disqualified, but still he continues, or the company finds out, but still they allow him, then all the decisions will become invalid from that date. Now, articles can in a company they can have their own additional disqualifications also in the articles. Now, acts not valid if done after noticing his appointment to be invalid or to have terminated. They have said it is provided that Section 176 shall not be deemed to give validity to any act done by director after his appointment has been noticed by the company to be invalid or have been terminated. If the company notices that he is actually disqualified but still they allow him, then you cannot take protection under this section. So this is to basically not trouble the company by invalidating all the acts he has done. So again, what will happen if something like this happens? Then retrospectively, all the decisions he was part of or all the things he has done will become invalid. So that can lead to a big prejudice to the company. So that is why they are protecting the company from keeping the acts done by him valid till the time they find out. In other words, any subsequent act done by director shall not get validated under the following circumstances. They said that after this, the acts won't be valid. When it comes to notice of the company that his appointment is invalid or illegal, or there is no appointment, he was not appointed validly. Where it is a notice to of the company that his appointment has been terminated, the company knows that his term is over, but still they allow him to continue. Where it is noticed by the company that his acts are illegal, ultra vires the company or the company's act. So he is doing acts which are illegal and company is allowing him, so they are invalid anyways. Anything that is illegal is always invalid. Where it is within the knowledge of the third party. So anybody dealing with the director also knows that his appointment is invalid, then that transaction will be invalid only. Where it is it was well within the knowledge of the third party that appointment of director was not valid, or there existed any irregularity, or there was any disqualification attached to director, and still such party dealt with him, then this transaction is only invalid because third party also knew. So anyone who is dealing with the director, any third party knew that this director was not properly appointed or disqualified. Still, they are dealing with him, so you will not get benefit of that. Where director knows that is when director knows it fully that his term of office has expired, but he continues to occupy office despite such knowledge, then it is definitely invalid. Where a person exercises powers as director, though he apparently knows that he has no authority to exercise such powers because his appointment was invalid or he has been since terminated. So he knows and still he continues as a director, then no. Plus protection to acts of MD or whole-time director or manager. Now the rule is managing director, whole-time director or manager, generally they are appointed by they are recommended by the board basically. So they are appointed by the board at board resolution and they are subsequently approved by the shareholders in general meeting. So suppose the board appoints them in January and they are to be approved by shareholders in general meeting in February. So there is a 1 month gap. So in the meanwhile, they can continue in the office. So if they are disapproved in general meeting, they will have to vacate. So in the meanwhile, 1 month, whatever decisions they are taken will be valid. That is always in the case of MD or manager, that if they are appointed at the board meeting, they can start their office and they can continue subject to approval in general meeting. So basically general meeting approves them. So if the general meeting disapproves them, in the meanwhile, whatever decisions they have taken will be valid. So Mr. Mohan was appointed as director at the AGM of a company held on 30th September, and he functioned in the capacity as director from then onwards. Subsequently, during August 19, it was noticed that there were certain irregularities in his appointment, and therefore, on 31st August, his appointment was declared invalid. However, Mr. Mohan continued to act as director even after 31st August. Whether the subsequent acts done by him as director are valid and binding on the company. Now they are saying it was noticed. If it was noticed by the company, then remaining acts are invalid. They are saying in view of the provisions of 176, the acts done by Mr. Mohan till the date of noticing irregularity in his appointment shall be deemed to be valid and binding on the company. Any act done after date on which irregularity in his appointment was noticed by the company shall be invalid. Logical. So anything after 31st this August will be invalid and not binding. Understood this section?
Yes.
Okay. Now the important one, the very important one, audit committee. Audit committee. First of all, what are committees? Generally, committees are formed basically with the purpose of delegation. So board is not loaded with all the work. So what they do, they form committees for specific reasons. So one is the audit committee. So here also directors will be there. The members are directors only. So some of the directors of the board will be part of the audit committee. So they will look into the matters which are required to be decided by the audit committee. Then there is a nomination remuneration committee, which talks about who should be the directors, will recommend names of people who will be directors or who will be in the senior management level below directors, and their remuneration policy. Then there is something called as a stakeholder relationship committee to understand the grievances of the grievances of the investors. So the board, the main board, doesn't have to be bogged down by looking into all the matters. So instead, they form a committee which is assigned a function that this is your function. So they look into it and they will give a report to the board, or they will make the recommendation of the board, and board will approve it. So this is like a delegation basically. So section 177 talks about audit committee. So they are saying that first of all, which companies need to have an audit committee, that you need to understand. It is applicability. Basically, all listed companies need to have an audit committee. Then all unlisted public companies, listed though definitely, listed public companies and unlisted public companies having paid up capital of 10 crore or more, borrowings of more than 50 crore, or turnover of more than equal to 100 crore, they need to have audit committee set up. So the point to remember is listed. Listed is always there. Then 10, 50, 100. 10 is more than equal to 10 for unlisted public companies. The criteria is paid up capital should be more than equal to 10 crore. Borrowing should be more than 50 crore, not equal to, more than 50 crore. Turnover more than or equal to 100 crore or anything. So any paid up capital requirement or turnover or borrowings. Any of the threshold is crossed, then audit committee has to be there. So companies required to constitute an audit committee. Following companies are required to constitute an audit committee: listed public company, public companies having paid up share capital of 10 crore or more, public companies which have in aggregate outstanding loans, debentures or deposits, basically borrowings, exceeding 50 crore, more than 50 crore, public companies having turnover 100 crore or more. I always follow the ascending order. So 10, 50, 100, that is the best way to remember.
Independent director मध्ये पण केलेलं ना, 10, 15.
That was for independent directors. Yeah, it's the
Independent
same.
director.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yes.
Actually, audit committee, nomination remuneration committee, independent directors, it is the same. So same thing you can remember. Yeah, correct. Good. But these companies are not required to constitute audit committee if it's a joint venture, a wholly owned subsidiary, or a dormant company. So even if they are meeting the threshold limits, they are not required to form an audit committee. Plus, if a company for back-to-back 3 years, they are not satisfying any of the criteria. So suppose a company satisfies this criteria, that is that turnover goes above 100 crore. So they obviously have to have an audit committee. And generally, this is to be looked at of the previous year, last audited financial statement. So if the current year I need to set up audit committee or not, I will be decided in my as per my last balance sheet. So because last year my turnover was more than 100 crore. This year I set up an audit committee. But for the next 3 years, back to back, I was not meeting any of the criteria. And after third year, I did not have an audit committee. That is the logic. They are saying a company which was obligated to constitute audit committee. So once the threshold crosses, you have to set up. Shall not be required to constitute audit committee if it ceases to fulfill any of the three conditions. Any of the three conditions. So none of the three conditions I am satisfying relating to paid up capital, turnover, outstanding loans for 3 consecutive years. It shall again be required to constitute audit committee if it starts meeting the conditions. So if back to back 3 years of I am not meeting any of the conditions, then I need not continue the audit committee. But afterwards, again, I am meeting the condition, I will have to set up audit committee. So generally, once the requirement is met, once threshold is crossed, generally companies will continue with having audit committee. Because कैसा है कि लास्ट इयर टर्नओव्हर वाढलेलं, मग नेक्स्ट 3 वर्ष नव्हतं, पण पुढे परत वाढेल, तर तेव्हा परत मला करायला लागेल. सो आय विल कंटिन्यू. तर म्हटलंय द पेड अप कॅपिटल, टर्नओव्हर as the case may be, as existing on the last date of latest audit of finance statement shall be taken. So last years. आता ऑडिट कमिटीचं कंपोजिशन काय आहे? ओके, त्याने म्हटलंय the audit committee shall consist of minimum 3 directors with independent directors forming majority. So audit committee त्याने म्हटलंय shall consist of minimum 3 directors with independent directors forming majority. So basically इथे independent directors पण रिलेशन आहे. आपण बघितलं की you need to have more independent directors if audit committee requirement आहे तर. So इथे कसं आहे की minimum 3 तुमची पाहिजे. So basically if you are like having audit committee of like 8 directors, so त्याने म्हटलंय majority should be independent. So 8 मधले almost 5 should be independent. So तुम्हाला तेवढे independent directors पण लागतील. Okay. So minimum 3 with independent directors forming majority. Plus त्याने म्हटलंय की all the members of the audit committee, sorry, majority of the members of audit committee, including chairperson. So audit committee will also have a chairperson, shall be having ability to read and understand finance statement. So they should at least have the ability to read and understand the finance statement. असं नाही की एकदम highly qualified पाहिजे, असतील तर better आहे, but they should at least be able to read the financial statement. Now section 8 companies, त्याने म्हटलं in case of section 8 companies, the requirement of section 177 of independent directors shall not be required. So independent directors वाला point नाहीये. Obviously board report मध्ये audit committee चा disclosure झालं पाहिजे की what is the composition, who are the part of the audit committee, and secondly any recommendation board ने जर accept नाही केलं, normally कसं असतं की audit committee will recommend the name of the auditor, board has to approve it. Okay म्हणून if board doesn't approve it and they then स्वतःचं नाव suggest करतात as an auditor, then they have to disclose in the board report giving the reasons ki why we didn't accept the recommendation of the audit committee. So त्यांना reason द्यायला. So wherever they do not accept the recommendation of audit committee, they will have to disclose the reason. Reasons काय म्हणतात, so responsibilities of audit committee काय आहेत? Obviously a terms of reference की audit committee चं काम काय आहे will be specified by the board. The board will lay down what are the terms of reference, what is the scope of working of the audit committee, and it should include the following definitely. Firstly, about auditors. So audit committee will recommend the appointment, remuneration, and terms of appointment of auditors. Government company असेल फक्त remuneration they will be decided by the audit committee, and बाकी will be done by CAG, the Comptroller Auditor General. Recommendation वगैरे, but remuneration फक्त recommendation for remuneration paper will be decided by the audit committee. बाकी appointment, recommendation वगैरे CAG करणार. Review, monitor the auditor's independence and performance, effectiveness of audit process. So yes, they have to review how the auditor is performing. Examination of financial statements and auditor's report. So they will review it before submitting to the board. Board will then approve it. Approval or subsequent modification of any transaction of the company with related party. So if the company is entering into transactions with related parties of the company, that is holding, subsidiary, associate, or companies in which directors are interested or the relatives are interested, then audit committee has to approve them. Sometimes they can give omnibus approval. Omnibus म्हणजे काय, ब्लॉक अप्रुव्हल, आधीच अप्रुव्हल देऊन ठेवले. काही काही ट्रान्झॅक्शन्सला आधीच स्टार्ट ऑफ द इयरच अप्रुव्हल देऊन ठेवले. तो तसं करू शकतात. हे कंडिशनचा काय उपयोग नाही. Plus, they have the responsibility of scrutinizing the intercorporate loans and investments. So, intercompany loans or investments they have to scrutinize. बरोबर आहेत का? Valuation of undertakings or assets of the company wherever necessary. So they can conduct valuation. Evaluate the financial controls, internal controls म्हणतात audit मध्ये. Internal financial controls and risk management systems. How the company is managing the risk. Monitoring the end use of funds raised through public offers or related matters. IPO वगैरे केलाय, राईट इश्यू केलाय, ते पैसे कसे वापरलेत, फॉर द पर्पज वापरलेत का, हे सगळं ते मॉनिटर करतात. Plus, they have the rights that they can call for comments of the auditors about the internal control, scope of audit, observations. They have the right to review the statements before submission to the board. Plus, they can discuss any matters with internal or statutory auditors and management. So basically, यांच्याकडे power आहे की they can call the auditors and discuss with him what exactly do you think, how are the internal controls of the company, what is the scope of the audit, what you should be doing. They can discuss with the scope. They can discuss the observations that the auditors had. Plus, they can discuss with internal auditor, त्यांचा आतला auditor जो आहे, कंपनीचा auditor आहे, insider, त्याला विचारू शकतात. Plus, board बरोबर they can discuss some matters. Plus, they will approve the financial statements and auditors report before it is. They will approve the financial statements before it is approved by the board. Plus, they have a right to investigate in any matter. त्यांना वाटलं का इन्व्हेस्टिगेशनची गरज आहे, फ्रॉड बीड झालाय, they can investigate. Plus, for that they can obtain professional advice. They can hire outside experts also, and they will have full access to any information in the company. Plus, audit committeeच्या meetings जे असतील, when it discusses the auditor's report, auditorचा report आला, मग they will call a meeting of the auditor also. So, audit committee meeting मध्ये they will call the auditor or any KMP also they can call. But obviously, the people voting at the meeting will be the members of the audit committee only. The auditor and the KMP cannot vote. So, I meant like when auditor report is considered at the meeting of the audit committee, they can call the auditor and also call some KMP CEO वगैरे येऊ शकतो. पण voting करणार obviously audit committee members only. They can just be heard at the meeting. Then there is something called as vigil mechanism. आता vigil mechanism म्हणजे काय की basically this is like audit committeeला ही power दिली आहे की जर directors किंवा employees have some concerns, काही problems आहेत त्यांचे की they are not being treated properly or they are harassed or they have some issues, they want to blow a whistle on someone, काहीतरी fraud चाललाय कंपनीमध्ये किंवा काहीतरी गडबड आहे, something they don't like or they are not being treated well, they can report to the audit committee. But vigil mechanism has to be set up for every listed company or companies having deposits from public or companies which have borrowed more than 50 crores from banks or public financial institutions. So every listed company and companies which have taken public deposits or borrowings of more than 50 crore will need to set up a vigil mechanism. आता ज्यांच्या कंपनीमध्ये ऑडिट कमिटी आहे, तो ऑडिट कमिटी विल लुक आफ्टर द विजिल मेकॅनिझम. ज्या कंपनीत ऑडिट कमिटी नाहीये, एक डिरेक्टर विल बी given the power to be the vigil mechanism. Director or 2 directors will be the vigil mechanism. So कोणाला काही इश्यू असेल, you can complain to him. So आजकाल sexual harassment and all that things are there. So you can immediately report. परत काही एक्सेसिव्ह असेल आणि ऑडिट कमिटी असेल, एकदम अर्जंट आहे, तर डायरेक्टली यू कॅन रिपोर्ट टू द चेअरमॅन ऑफ द ऑडिट कमिटी ऑल्सो. ओके, सो दिस इज बेसिकली तेव्हाच्या तेव्हा तो इश्यू सॉल्व्ह करतील. आता कधी कधी असं होऊ शकतं की सपोज ऑडिट कमिटीला कंप्लेंट केली आणि ऑडिट कमिटी मधला डिरेक्टर आहे, त्याच्या अगेन्स्टच कंप्लेंट आहे, तर मग ही शुड स्टेप डाऊन आणि मग बाकीचे डिरेक्टर्स विल डिसाइड ऑन द केस, पण ही इज इंटरेस्टेड इन दॅट केस. So vigil mechanism is formed for directors and employees who may report genuine concerns. Not all the companies, but only the prescribed ones are required to establish vigil mechanism. कोणाला कोण प्रिस्क्राइब्ड आहे? लिस्टेडला तर असतंच. Then prescribed class of companies म्हणजे companies which accept deposits from public, companies which have borrowed from banks or public financial institutions in excess of 50 crore. Purpose काय आहे? A vigil mechanism is formed from directors and employees who may report genuine concerns in the prescribed manner. Vigil mechanism to adequate stand to ensure adequate standards म्हणजे काय की कोणी कंप्लेंट केली मग त्यालाच नंतर त्याच्या अगेन्स्टच कारवाई नाही चालू करायची, काय ह्याने कंप्लेंट कशी केली माझ्या अगेन्स्ट वगैरे असं नाही झालं पाहिजे. आता कोणी कंप्लेंटच करणार नाही. सो दॅट पर्सन शुड नॉट बी विक्टिमाइज्ड. सो पीपल शुड फील सेफ टू कंप्लेन. नाही तर कोणी कंप्लेंटच करणार नाही. So vigil mechanisms will provide for adequate safeguards against victimization of persons who use such mechanism and make such provision for direct access to chairperson of audit committee in appropriate or exceptional cases. So काही exceptional cases मध्ये डायरेक्टली तुम्ही chairpersonलाही कॉन्टॅक्ट करू शकता. Users of vigil mechanism, this is open for directors and employees. Company having audit committee, the audit committee will be looking after vigil mechanism. आणि त्याने म्हटलंय if any of the members of committee have conflict of interest in a given case, they should rescue themselves and the others on the committee would deal with the matter. जिकडे ऑडिट कमिटी नाही आहे, then board of directors may nominate a director to play the role of audit committee for the purpose of vigil mechanism. त्याला रिपोर्ट करू शकता. ऍडिक्वेट सेफगार्ड्स पाहिजेत की जो कोणी कंप्लेंट करतो दे शुड नॉट विक्टिमाइज, नाही तर त्यांच्या अगेन्स्टच तुम्ही त्याला फायर कराल जस्ट बिकॉज ही कंप्लेंट. डायरेक्ट ऍक्सेस त्याने म्हटलंय की एकदम एक्स्ट्रीम केस आहे तर मग डायरेक्ट ऑडिट कमिटीच्या चेअरमॅनला तुम्ही रिपोर्ट करू शकता. और त्याने म्हटलंय की जो डिरेक्टर नॉमिनेटेड आहे त्याला तुम्ही कंप्लेंट करू शकता. ऍक्शन अगेन्स्ट रिपीटेड फ्रिव्हलस कंप्लेंट्स, आता काही एम्प्लॉईज उगाच खोटी खोटी कंप्लेंट करत आहेत तर मग त्यांच्या अगेन्स्ट दे विल टेक ऍक्शन, दे विल पनिश देम. ओके. And disclosure details, they should disclose that this is a system on the website of the company and also in the board's report. So employees and directors should know कि असा असा mechanism आहे. So if they feel threatened or they feel something is wrong, so they can go and complain there. ओके. so 9 वाजलेत. so काय करू, मार्क करू की म्हणजे कसं नेक्स्ट टाइमच आहे वेळ का?
मार्किंग सांग ना.
ओके.
सॉरी तुम्हाला गडबड केली.
नाही नो प्रॉब्लेम. मी मार्क करतो पटापट म्हणजे